Daniel joins us now. So, what brings you home to Perth?
Home in between races. You know, just had Singapore, short trip home to Perth and then up to Malaysia. So logistically makes sense, and Mum wanted to see me, so get to see Mum.
That's all very well, but I feel like perhaps that little track in the background might have something to do with it too, Daniel. Do I have to do your work for you?
No, it's all right. There's a few things going on while I'm home. So we got, basically, Fox Sports asked me to build like my ultimate track, my ultimate layout. So pretty much all the places we go around the world, I picked out like my favorite corners and put it all into the circuit behind. So they've like scaled it into like a Scalextrics. And yeah, this is it. So we're at Crown Sports Bar, and I was racing it earlier. Should have seen me. I was pretty bad.
Did you win, Daniel, or did you lose by 0.4 of a second?
Oh. Actually, I lost by more than that.
just on Singapore, is it worse to lose by just lose by 0.4 or to lose by a lot more? What's worse?
To be honest, in the circumstances, it would have been worse to lose by more. I think because we were closing the gap, that was still quite rewarding to know that we put pressure on Rosberg till the end. So it was sure frustrating to get that close, sort of yet that far, but from that point of view, I still think it was a good thing rather than a bad thing.
It was a great race, mate, and I noticed you're in a nightclub. Do they serve drinks out of shoes there?
Yeah, it's speaking of, when I was on the podium in Singapore, there was like a big chant, and I figured out what they were saying. They were saying "shoey," like "shoey, shoey," and I was like, "Oh, I can't." Only if I win. Only if I win again.
Did Mark Webber have a go at you after you made him do a shoey up on the podium? Did he have a go at you afterwards?
I was a bit worried. I was like, he's going to have a crack at me here. But I saw him afterwards when all the dust settled, so to speak, and I apologised. I was like, sorry, mate. I obviously got you, you know, in the heat of the moment. Sorry if I, you know, embarrassed you. And he was like, "No, mate, it was awesome." Like, so he was pretty stoked about it. Actually, he said something like I was drinking a lot of salts because my sweat tasted somewhat scrumptious.
This is why we love you. The smile, and you are the nice guy of Formula One. There are a lot of prickly characters in Formula One. Is there a side of Daniel Ricciardo we don't see? We know that you've had a couple of problems with your Red Bull team this year. When the cameras are off, can you really fire up?
I can. You know, I think within reason. Like, I'm not a guy to sort of dish out a lot of verbal abuse. Like after the race in Monaco, I didn't attend like the post-race meeting because I thought if I lose my stuff, it's probably not the right thing to do. So I just left, and I'm probably better off having giving myself the silent treatment as opposed to calling everyone a bunch of names that I'll probably regret doing.
Daniel, was that the race where you took off because there was a massive bumblebee in your face?
Oh, that was recently. That was in Monza. And I'm all for honey. I love especially Manuka honey. It's great, but that was a big one. I wasn't keen on getting stung by that. Yeah.
When you hear people come to the defence of, you know, the antics of Nick Kyrgios and Bernard Tomic, you often hear them say it must be so hard being so young and dealing with the fame and the fortune and the pressure. Is that a fair assessment? Is it hard?
It is tricky, you know, and it's hard to, you know, for people to understand as well sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment. Sure, some frustration and some things can come out. But I think over time, especially with a bit of probably maturity, there's a time I think you understand when to sort of bite your lip and say, all right, just let the people know you're not happy, but, you know, let the real frustration out afterwards where you're not going to do something you might regret or look back on and say, oh, yeah, that was a learning curve.
And that's why we love you, Daniel, and that's why you're so popular. With all the patrons that we can see in the background there at the bar, you are a very popular man.
I've got a bad bout of food poisoning. They're all staying away from me.
And Daniel, the news gets worse. There's a bee right behind you. Look out! Look out!
Daniel, thank you very much. It's been very good of you.
No worries. Always a pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Champion bloke. And he takes everything in his stride, like you're having selfies at the airport. We have a friend, Jimmy, who after the Grand Prix went to the bottle shop near Albert Park and just dropped in there. And Daniel Ricciardo was there, like like an hour after the race buying slabs for his crew. What a champion!
I know, you don't realise as well, like this break is like on a holiday now. He gets like a day or two off a year. Like his schedule, he has to give up his whole life to become a Formula One driver, and that's media training in the car the whole time. He's unbelievable.
Does it with such a smile and a great
brilliant.
sense of humour.
I hope he gets paid for it.
Yeah.
I think he's doing it right.
Only a little bit.
Well, there it is. Peekaboo.